The sky above GalacticPrime burned like molten gold. Smoke rose in thick black clouds from the city of Varus, the capital of the Carath Dominion. Once this city had been the pride of the galaxy, a shining jewel of crystal towers, floating spires, and streets lined with glowing gardens. Now it was a battlefield, echoing with the sounds of explosions, laser fire, and the anguished cries of those left alive. At the center of the capital, in the ruins of her palace, stood Queen Sarathia, the ruler of the Carath people. Her armor, once polished and elegant, was scorched and battered. Her long silver hair hung in tangles over her shoulders. She had fought bravely, but even the bravest cannot fight alone against an entire armada. Her throne room had been destroyed hours ago. Crystal shards glittered across the floor like dangerous diamonds, and the air was thick with the smell of burning metal and ozone. Yet despite the chaos, Sarathia remained upright. Her eyes scanned the horizon from a broken window overlooking the city. She could see the enemy ships circling above like vultures, their dark forms blotting out the stars. Her mind raced. The Carath Dominion had once ruled over hundreds of worlds. They had fleets, armies, and powerful weapons that no other species could challenge. And yet here she was, surrounded by enemies, her people scattered or dead. Her generals were gone. Her elite guards had fallen defending the palace. Only she remained, and even her own advisors had fled into hiding, abandoning her. She clenched her fists, feeling the rage and despair mixing in her chest. "I am their queen," she whispered to herself, her voice strong despite the fear gnawing at her. "I cannot die like this. I will not." But even as she spoke, she knew the truth. The battle was over. There was no one left to save her. No reinforcements would come, not from her allies who had already surrendered, and certainly not from her fleets which had been destroyed one by one. Every strategy, every plan, every hope of survival had been wiped away. Sarathia's hand went to a small device hidden beneath her armor. It was old, ancient even, and she had promised never to use it. The device was a distress beacon, one of the first the Carath had ever made. It was intended for emergency situations, a way to call for help across the galaxy. But the beacon had been deactivated centuries ago. The only record of it was a faint memory in the archives, a memory that only she could access. With trembling hands, she activated it. A soft hum filled the room, followed by a sharp, pulsing light. The signal began to broadcast, a message in a frequency long forgotten by most of the galaxy. It was a call for help, a desperate plea from a queen who had never begged before. For a long moment, Sarathia stood still, listening to the faint hum of the signal. She felt exposed, vulnerable in a way she had never felt in her life. The thought of asking for help was humiliating, almost unbearable. And yet, she had no choice. Her people needed her. Her empire needed her. If she did not call for aid now, everything would be lost. Far beyond GalacticPrime, in the quiet expanse of space, the signal traveled through the void. It passed through asteroid fields, navigated nebulae, and slipped past enemy sensors. It was faint, almost imperceptible, a whisper in the endless dark. Back in the throne room, Sarathia closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Memories of her youth flickered in her mind, memories of training in the palace halls, learning diplomacy and strategy, of standing proud in front of her people and vowing to protect them. She had believed in her strength then, and she had proven herself in countless battles. But now, standing alone against impossible odds, she understood that even the strongest cannot face the galaxy by themselves. Her thoughts were interrupted by a sudden crash from outside the palace. A group of enemy soldiers had breached the outer gates. Their heavy boots shook the floor, and the sound of their weapons charging filled the air. Sarathia raised her energy blade, its blue light cutting through the shadows. She moved toward the broken doors, ready to fight, even if it meant her death. The soldiers hesitated for a moment when they saw her. She was a queen, yes, but now she was also human in her vulnerability, or at least she seemed so to them. She moved with precision, striking quickly and efficiently, forcing them to fall back. Her blade hummed through the air as she danced between attacks, her movements sharp, elegant, and deadly. Even as she fought, her mind never left the signal. She did not know if anyone would hear it, if anyone would answer. The thought of hope seemed almost foolish in the face of such overwhelming odds. And yet she had sent it. And in sending it, she had done something she had never done before. She had admitted that she could not do everything alone. Hours passed. She moved from room to room, holding off the enemy as best she could. Each corridor she cleared, each soldier she defeated, brought her closer to exhaustion. Her armor was scorched, her body aching, and her energy blade flickered with low power. Yet she continued, driven by something stronger than fear or rage. She fought for her people, for the empire she loved, and for the future she could not yet see. Night fell over GalacticPrime, though the sky was already dark with smoke and fire. Sarathia finally paused in the ruins of the Grand Hall. She looked out over the city, her eyes catching the faint glimmer of the signal as it pulsed outward into the void. Somewhere she thought perhaps someone would see it, perhaps someone would come. And in that moment, even in the face of despair, a small spark of hope ignited within her. She remembered the stories her ancestors had told her, of humans who lived on a distant small blue planet. They were considered weak, primitive, even fragile, yet they had survived, thrived, and even ventured into the stars. If any species could answer a forgotten call, if any species could cross impossible distances to help another, perhaps it would be them. Sarathia straightened, gripping her blade tightly. "I will not surrender," she whispered. "I will hold on. If anyone is listening, help me." She did not know if anyone was out there. She did not know if anyone would come. But she had tried, and sometimes trying was the first step to survival. Outside the palace, the enemy forces gathered. Their war machines rumbled like living beasts, their weapons ready to strike. And yet, despite the chaos, the queen remained calm. She was a warrior. She was a leader. She was the last hope of the Careth Dominion. Far beyond the burning skies of GalacticPrime, in the quiet darkness of uncharted space, a human ship glided silently. Its hull reflected the faint glimmers of distant stars, and its engines hummed softly, a sharp contrast to the chaos happening light years away. The ship was small, not meant to fight an armada, but it carried something more important. Humans, brave and disciplined, willing to face danger where others would not. On the bridge, Captain Elias Ward stood with his hands clasped behind his back. His eyes, sharp and steady, scanned the star map in front of him. The crew around him moved with precision, each person focused on their tasks. Ward was a man of experience. He had seen battles in distant systems, encountered alien species, both hostile and friendly, and had navigated situations where survival seemed impossible. Yet this mission was unlike any he had faced. "Captain," said Lieutenant Mara Chen, the ship's communications officer, "I'm picking up a faint signal. It's old, very old, almost like it's from the archives, not from active channels." Ward stepped closer. The signal was weak, barely distinguishable from the background noise of space. It pulsed rhythmically like a heartbeat. He frowned. "Where is it coming from?" Chen adjusted the controls. "It's coming from the Careth system. GalacticPrime, specifically. Sir, this sector hasn't had any human presence for centuries. The Dominion collapsed long ago. If this signal is real, it could be a trap." Ward shook his head. "If it's a trap, we deal with it. But I've never ignored a call for help. No matter who sends it." The crew exchanged glances. They knew what this meant. Answering the call could bring them straight into the heart of a battlefield, against forces they had no intelligence on. Some of them hesitated, but no one questioned Ward. He had a reputation for calm judgment, a man who trusted his instincts and expected others to do the same. "Set a course for GalacticPrime," he ordered. "Full speed." The ship shivered as the engines powered up. Outside, the darkness of space stretched endlessly, broken only by the distant glimmer of stars. As the ship jumped into faster-than-light travel, the crew prepared themselves for what they might face. Weapons were checked. Shields were reinforced. Everyone knew they were heading into danger, yet their fear was tempered by determination. Hours passed in tense silence as the ship traveled through the void. On the bridge, Ward stood alone, staring at the stars. He thought about the message encoded in the signal, a plea for help, desperate and urgent. Whoever sent it had faced unimaginable odds to reach out. That kind of courage deserved a response. Meanwhile, back on GalacticPrime, Queen Sarathia waited. Her guards were gone, and the enemy forces had taken control of much of the city. She had barricaded herself in the ruins of the palace, hoping against hope that someone would answer the call. Hours turned into a full day, and still no response came. She felt the weight of despair pressing on her shoulders. "Perhaps no one is coming," she whispered to herself, pacing the crumbled corridors. Perhaps I was wrong to hope. Just then, her sensors picked up a faint shimmer in the distance. At first, she thought it was another enemy ship. But as the object grew closer, she realized it was unlike anything she had seen in the skies above Prime. It moved with precision and calm, unaffected by the chaos below. The Queen's heart raced. Could it be? She had almost stopped believing in rescue, yet there it was. A human ship, sleek and determined, coming straight into the war zone. On board the ship, the humans could see Prime from orbit. The planet was scarred and burning, cities reduced to rubble. The atmosphere was thick with smoke, and the glow of explosions marked where the fighting was fiercest. Ward stood at the bridge, gripping the railing as he surveyed the devastation. "Damage reports?" he asked. "All systems nominal, Captain," said Chen, shields holding. "Weapons ready." Ward nodded. "Good, let's make our presence known. We're not just observers. We're here to help." The humans moved with practiced efficiency. Dropships were prepared, piloted by the most skilled members of the crew. Their exosuits gleamed under the ship's lights, equipped with tools and weapons designed to adapt to any battlefield. Ward looked at his team, pride in his eyes. These were humans who had trained for decades, capable of facing enemies far larger and stronger than themselves, and yet they fought not for glory, but for the innocent and the desperate. As the dropships left the main vessel, the enemy forces on the ground noticed them. Their sensors were primitive compared to the human technology. The enemy commanders assumed the small ships would be easy prey. They were wrong. The humans descended in perfect formation, landing amidst the chaos. Ward led from the front, his voice calm but commanding through the comms. "Hold your positions. Protect the civilians. We move fast and precise. Do not let them overwhelm us." On the ground, the difference was immediate. The enemy soldiers, expecting an easy victory, were met with coordinated attacks. Humans moved with speed and intelligence, using tactics no one had anticipated. They were precise, focused, and unyielding. Energy blasts were dodged with skill. Traps were set for the enemy, and civilians were guided to safe zones. The humans seemed almost untouchable, like a single organism acting in perfect unity. Sarathia watched from the palace ruins, unable to believe her eyes. She had fought countless battles in her lifetime, seen the bravest Kareth warriors die on the battlefield. But these humans, they were something else. They fought with courage, with strategy, and above all, with a determination to protect. She stepped outside, her energy blade raised, ready to join the humans in battle. But one of the soldiers approached her, signaling her to stay behind. Ward himself appeared a moment later, stepping forward with calm authority. "You are the Queen?" he asked, his voice steady. Sarathia nodded. "Yes, I am Queen Sarathia, and you are humans. You have come to help?" Ward smiled faintly. "Yes, that's what we do. We don't wait for the perfect situation. We go where help is needed. And today Prime needs help." The Queen studied him, noting his calm confidence and the resolve in his eyes. There was no arrogance, no desire for power, only the drive to do what was right. She felt a surge of hope rise within her, the kind she had not felt in years. Together, humans and the Queen moved through the city, coordinating defenses and evacuations. The humans taught the remaining Kareth soldiers new strategies on the fly, using their advanced technology and battlefield experience. The enemy forces, once confident, now found themselves struggling against an opponent they could not predict, a force they had underestimated completely. Ward led a small team to the front lines, breaking through enemy barricades and rescuing civilians trapped under rubble. Every move was calculated, every decision precise. The humans worked as one, a living machine of courage and intelligence, yet with empathy at its core. Sarathia observed quietly, learning from them, inspired by their actions. She realized that strength was not only measured in weapons or numbers, but in courage, teamwork, and the willingness to face impossible odds. These humans, small in number compared to her enemies, made her believe that hope was not lost. As night fell over the war-torn city, the humans had made a remarkable difference. They had stabilized key areas, rescued hundreds of civilians, and forced the enemy to rethink their strategy. Prime was still in danger, but for the first time in days, the Queen felt that survival was possible. Ward returned to the palace ruins, where Sarathia awaited. "We've done what we can for now," he said. "Tomorrow we push them back further. But tonight your people are safe, and that is what matters." Sarathia bowed slightly, an unfamiliar but sincere gesture of respect and gratitude. You have saved my people. Yous have saved me. I will not forget this, Captain Elias Ward. Ward shook his head. Don't thank me yet. The fight is not over. But I promise this, as long as we are here, GalacticPrime will not fall. The air above GalacticPrime vibrated with the sound of engines and weapons fire. The city of Varus, once a shining jewel of the Careth Dominion, was now a battlefield. Fires raged through the streets, smoke curling into the sky like dark serpents. The enemy forces were relentless, moving through the city in coordinated waves. They believed the queen was weak, surrounded, and alone. They were wrong. From the palace ruins, Queen Sarathia watched the enemy forces advance. Her energy blade hummed with power, casting a blue light across her determined face. She had spent hours guiding civilians to safe zones, coordinating with the humans and learning their tactics. She was exhausted, yet she stood tall. She had fought many battles, but today was different. Today she wasn't fighting alone. Captain Ward, she said through the comm, her voice steady despite the tension. How long until your reinforcements can hold the eastern sector? Ward's voice came back firm and calm. We've already secured the civilians in that area. My team is ready to hold the line. The enemy will think they can break through, but they won't. Not while we're here. Sarathia nodded. The humans had shown her a type of courage she had never seen before. Fearless, precise, and determined. She realized that no matter how strong the enemy was, humans had something more: unity, strategy, and a will to protect others that made them nearly unstoppable. In the distance, a massive enemy battalion approached. These were not ordinary soldiers, they were elite troops trained to crush entire armies. They carried heavy weapons capable of leveling buildings, and their armor glinted menacingly under the burning sky. The queen felt a shiver of apprehension but did not hesitate. She raised her blade and moved toward the front line, humans at her side. The first clash was sudden and violent. Energy blasts lit up the streets as humans and Careth soldiers coordinated attacks. Ward led from the front, directing fire, setting traps, and striking with surgical precision. Every move was calculated. The humans did not waste energy or time. Their tactics were simple yet deadly. Strike hard, protect the weak, and never give up ground. Sarathia fought beside them, her blade a streak of light in the chaos. She struck down enemy soldiers with skill honed over years of battle, yet she could not help but notice how the humans moved. They were faster than any Careth soldier she had ever trained with. They communicated silently, anticipating each other's moves, and always had a plan. Even when surrounded, they never panicked. "Hold the line!" Ward shouted, his voice carrying across the battlefield. "Do not let them pass." The enemy tried to push through, using their heavy weapons to blast barricades and destroy human shields. But every attempt failed. The humans adapted instantly, reinforcing weak points, setting ambushes, and using the city itself as a weapon. They moved like shadows, striking where the enemy least expected. Civilians were evacuated efficiently, with humans guiding them through safe paths while covering fire kept the enemy at bay. Sarathia realized something incredible. These humans, though few in number, were changing the tide of the battle. She had always believed her people were superior in strategy and strength. But watching these humans, she understood that courage, intelligence, and the willingness to risk everything for others could surpass even the most advanced weapons and training. Hours passed in a blur of combat. Buildings crumbled, streets burned, and the enemy pressed forward relentlessly. But the humans never wavered. Ward moved like a commander who had fought countless wars, but with a humanity that inspired every soldier around him. Every time an enemy soldier advanced, a human countered, often turning the enemy's strength against them. At one point, a group of civilians became trapped in a collapsing building. The enemy had noticed and attempted to capture them, seeing an opportunity to demoralize the defenders. Without hesitation, Ward led a team into the wreckage. The humans moved with precision, lifting debris, shielding the civilians, and fighting off enemy troops with minimal loss. They were not reckless, they calculated every risk, but their courage was unmatched. Sarathia watched in awe. She had commanded armies, led fleets, and faced death countless times, but she had never seen bravery like this. The humans were not just soldiers. They were protectors. Every life mattered to them, and they would not allow fear to dominate their actions. "Your species is remarkable," she murmured to herself, almost in disbelief. The enemy commander, realizing the humans were more than he had anticipated, grew frustrated. Why are they so fearless? He demanded. They are few. They cannot possibly win. But the humans ignored him. They did not fight for pride or for conquest or for glory. They fought because it was the right thing to do. They fought because they believed in protecting those who could not protect themselves. That belief, that unwavering courage was something the enemy could not understand or anticipate. As the battle raged, Ward noticed a massive enemy war machine advancing toward the center of the city, a vehicle capable of destroying entire blocks in seconds. He knew that if it reached civilians or strategic points, the enemy would regain control. He turned to his team. We take that machine down. No excuses. We move together and we move fast. The humans executed a perfect plan. While one team distracted the war machine, others targeted its weak points. Energy blasts from human weapons struck precisely where they were needed. When the war machine fired, human shields absorbed the attacks, protecting both the team and the civilians nearby. Within minutes, the war machine was disabled, its destruction a testament to human ingenuity and bravery. Sarathia felt a surge of hope. The humans were not just helping, they were changing the battlefield. Enemy forces that had seemed unstoppable were faltering. Their confidence shattered under the humans' relentless strategy and courage. The Queen herself joined the final push. She fought side by side with Ward and his soldiers, her energy blade cutting through enemy ranks. Together, humans and Kareth soldiers formed an unbreakable line. Even as more enemies arrived, they could not breach the defense. The Queen realized that the humans had taught her people something invaluable. Unity, courage, and selfless determination could turn the tide even against overwhelming odds. Night fell over the city, but the battle did not cease. Fires cast eerie shadows and smoke mixed with the red glow of explosions. The humans held their positions, repelling wave after wave of enemy attacks. Their discipline and strategy kept the enemy at bay, and their courage inspired the Kareth soldiers to fight with renewed strength. In the palace ruins, Sarathia and Ward surveyed the battlefield. "You have changed everything," she said, her voice filled with awe. Ward shook his head. "We're just doing what we can. The rest is up to you and your people. But remember this, courage matters more than numbers. Unity matters more than weapons, and hope can win wars that seem impossible." For the first time in days, Sarathia smiled. She saw not just survival, but a future. With humans at her side, her people could rebuild, fight back, and reclaim their world. She had called across the galaxy in desperation, and now those she never expected had answered. The enemy commander, realizing the humans were unstoppable in their current tactics, called for retreat. His forces, shaken and demoralized, pulled back under the cover of night. They would regroup, but the victory tonight belonged to humans and Kareth soldiers alike. As the dust settled and fires burned low, Ward walked among the defenders. He checked on the wounded, reassured civilians and gave orders for the next phase of defense. Sarathia followed, quietly learning from his leadership and marveling at the humans' efficiency and heart. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, she felt hope, not fragile, not uncertain, but strong and real. She had survived the fall of her empire, witnessed the destruction of her city, and seen the courage of humans. And she knew that with them she could fight whatever came next. "Tomorrow," Sarathia said softly to Ward, "we push them back further. Together." Ward nodded. "Together, always." The first light of dawn barely pierced the thick smoke over GalacticPrime. The city of Varys was scarred and blackened from the night's battle, but the streets were no longer ruled by fear. Enemy forces were regrouping, hiding behind rubble and makeshift barricades, nursing their losses from the previous night. They thought that the humans' appearance was a fluke, that a few soldiers could not truly change the course of a war. They were about to learn their mistake. Queen Sarathia stood atop the remnants of her palace balcony, overlooking the battlefield. Her armor, scratched and scorched, still gleamed in the faint sunlight. Beside her, Captain Elias Ward studied the city through his portable scanner. His face was calm, but his mind was sharp, planning each step with precision. "The enemy will strike again," Ward said quietly. "They'll try to recover, but they won't expect what we can do." Sarathia nodded. "Show me. I want to understand how your people fight," Ward smiled faintly. "It's not just about fighting. It's about thinking, predicting, and acting as one. Watch closely." Below them, humans moved like shadows through the streets. Some were guiding survivors to safe zones, while others set up advanced defensive structures. The humans' technology was not only superior, it was creative. They used the city itself as a weapon. Collapsed buildings became choke points. Narrow alleys were rigged with energy traps. Elevated positions allowed sharpshooters to control the battlefield. Every detail had been planned, every action coordinated. Then Ward gave the order. Phase 2. Move out. At once the humans advanced in perfect formation, silent but deadly. They struck not with brute force alone, but with strategy that the enemy could not anticipate. Groups split to flank the enemy from multiple directions. Energy blasts disabled weapons, while exosuit-enhanced humans cleared barricades with precision. Civilians previously trapped were escorted safely away as the humans carved a path through the city. Sarathia watched in amazement. These humans were small compared to her elite soldiers, yet their impact was enormous. One team diverted a large group of enemy troops into a narrow street. When the enemies advanced, they triggered a series of controlled explosions that blocked the exit, trapping the soldiers in a confined space. Then humans moved in, disarming and neutralizing them efficiently. "They are incredible," Sarathia whispered. She had commanded armies, fought in dozens of battles, yet she had never seen tactics executed with such precision. These humans were not just brave, they were brilliant. Ward noticed her awe. "Courage is only part of it," he said. "Strategy and unity make the difference. Fear doesn't stop them. Clever planning does." Suddenly, the enemy commander sent reinforcements from the northern sector, heavy armored units with devastating firepower. The humans adjusted instantly. Ward signaled his team and they split into groups to handle each threat. Some set up defensive perimeters while others took offensive action, hitting the enemy supply lines and weapons storage. One group of humans, led by Lieutenant Mara Chen, scaled a crumbling tower to get a better vantage point. From there, they coordinated artillery strikes with surgical accuracy. Each shot hit its target, disabling key enemy machinery and forcing retreat in certain sectors. Below, Sarathia moved forward, fighting alongside a team of humans. She had never felt so alive in battle. Every strike of her energy blade was complemented by the humans' precise attacks. Together, they were unstoppable. Enemy soldiers fell back, confused and demoralized. They had expected the Queen to be alone, weak and desperate. Instead, they faced her united with humans whose courage and skill rivaled the legends of Kareth's greatest warriors. Hours passed, and the battle intensified. The enemy, realizing that conventional tactics were failing, unleashed their deadliest weapons: energy cannons capable of leveling entire streets, massive armored walkers, and squads of genetically enhanced soldiers. But the humans adapted seamlessly. Ward personally led a small strike team against one of the energy cannons. The team moved undercover, dodging debris and enemy fire, and disabled the weapon using a combination of explosives and hacking devices. The cannon exploded in a controlled blast that destroyed enemy reinforcements nearby, but left civilians unharmed. Sarathia observed in awe. She had always believed that technological superiority meant victory, but the humans showed her something more important: intelligence, adaptability, and the courage to act decisively at the right moment could overcome even the most advanced weapons. Meanwhile, Ward's main force pushed forward to engage the enemy commander directly. They split into teams, attacking from different angles to confuse and trap the enemy. Humans moved with precision, predicting the enemy's movements and neutralizing threats before they became critical. The enemy commander, seeing his forces falter, grew desperate. He unleashed everything he had, ordering his troops into reckless attacks, yet the humans anticipated each move. When one group advanced, another blocked them. When heavy fire rained down, shields were raised and civilians were protected. The humans' coordination was perfect, as if they shared a single mind. Sarathia, fighting beside them, felt her own confidence grow. She realized that victory was not just about her people or her empire. It was about courage, unity, and doing the right thing at the right time. The humans had taught her that strength alone was not enough. Heart and intelligence were just as important. The battle reached its climax in the city center. The enemy commander tried to escape in a heavily armored walker, but Ward anticipated it. Using a combination of energy blasts, grappling hooks, and careful strategy, The humans trapped the walker in a narrow street. Sarathia delivered the final strike, disabling the walker's systems and capturing the enemy commander alive. The remaining enemy forces, demoralized and leaderless, began to retreat. Humans and Kareth soldiers held the streets, ensuring that no civilians were harmed during the chase. The city, though battered, was now largely secure. Exhausted but victorious, Sarathia stood with Ward and his soldiers atop the palace ruins. Around them, the city was quiet except for the distant sounds of fires burning and debris settling. Civilians, now safe, began emerging from shelters, their faces filled with relief and gratitude. "You have done more than I imagined," Sarathia said, addressing Ward. "Your people, your courage. It is beyond anything I have ever seen." Ward shook his head. "We are not heroes. We just do what is right. That is all." Sarathia smiled, but it was a thoughtful, serious smile. She had learned something vital from these humans. True strength is not only in fighting, it is in protecting, in thinking, and in refusing to give up, no matter the odds. As the sun rose fully over the ruins of Varus, Sarathia realized that the humans had changed everything. The Kareth Dominion could rebuild. Her people could survive, and she knew that from this day forward humans would not be forgotten, not by her and not by her people. For the enemy, the defeat was a shocking revelation. They had expected to crush the Queen and her remnants easily. Instead, they had faced an opponent unlike any they had known. Humans, small in number but immense in courage, intelligence, and heart. They would think twice before attacking a world defended by these beings again. Sarathia turned to Ward. "Tomorrow we push them back further. I want to take the fight to them. I want GalacticPrime safe permanently." Ward nodded. "And we will. But we do it smart, with strategy, not recklessness. Humans fight for more than victory. They fight for survival, for hope, and for others. That is our strength. That is why we win." The Queen studied the humans around her. Each soldier carried themselves with quiet confidence, each action purposeful and decisive. They were not merely fighters. They were leaders, protectors, and examples of what courage could achieve. She felt pride, not in her own strength, but in being allied with such beings. That night, the city of Varus, though scarred, had a new energy. Survivors worked together to clear rubble, tend the wounded, and restore some semblance of order. Humans guided them, teaching methods of coordination and defense that Sarathia's people had not seen in generations. Slowly, hope spread through the streets, replacing fear with determination. Sarathia realized that her people had not only survived, they had learned from humans. They had seen bravery, intelligence, and compassion in action. They had seen what true strength meant. And for the first time since the fall of the Kareth Dominion, the Queen believed in the future. "Tomorrow," she whispered to herself, "we fight as one, and this world will be ours again." Ward placed a hand on her shoulder. "Together we can face anything." Sarathia nodded. Together. Above the city, the stars shone once more, undimmed by fear or despair. Somewhere, far beyond the horizon, humans had come to answer a desperate plea. And in doing so, they had shown a galaxy that courage, intelligence, and heart could turn the tide of any war. The reckoning was not over. The enemy would return, but with humans by her side, Queen Sarathia knew that GalacticPrime would not fall again, not while hope and courage walked its streets. The sun rose over GalacticPrime, casting golden light over the battle-scarred city of Varus. Smoke still lingered in the sky, but the streets were alive with movement. Civilians, rescued and unharmed, slowly emerged from shelters. Soldiers, both Kareth and humans, patrolled carefully, ensuring the enemy had no opportunity to strike again. The city was battered, but hope thrived where despair had ruled for so long. Queen Sarathia stood atop the highest remaining tower of the palace, her energy blade resting at her side. Her armor was scratched, scorched, and dented, but her posture was proud and unbroken. The city she had ruled for decades, now ravaged and near collapse, had survived the enemy's assault. And the reason was clear to her: humans. Below her, Captain Elias Ward and his team coordinated the final phase of the humans' intervention. Ward moved with calm authority, directing soldiers, clearing debris, and ensuring the safety of civilians. Every action was precise, every decision intentional. Watching him, Sarathia felt a sense of awe she had never known before. These humans, small in number, had changed the fate of an entire planet. The enemy forces, humbled and fractured after repeated defeats, attempted one last desperate counterattack. They had regrouped outside the city, rallying under the leadership of minor officers hoping to reclaim a foothold. They did not realize that the humans had prepared for this moment. Ward's team had already anticipated their movements. Energy barricades were erected along key streets. Hidden sniper teams occupied elevated positions, and Kareth soldiers, trained by humans, moved in perfect synchronization with their allies. It was not just strength that would win this battle, it was strategy, intelligence, and the courage to act decisively. The first wave of enemy soldiers entered the city, charging blindly into what they believed was an unprotected sector. In an instant, they were met with disciplined, coordinated human resistance. Energy blasts tore through the ranks, disabling weapons and vehicles. Humans in exosuits used grappling lines and jet-assisted leaps to strike from unexpected angles. Civilians were kept at a safe distance, escorted by humans who moved with careful, almost instinctive precision. Sarathia moved among her own soldiers, bolstered by the humans' presence. She struck down enemy troops with her blade, but she was no longer alone in this fight. Every time a threat appeared, a human was there to counter it, calm, focused, and unstoppable. She had never seen such coordination in her life. The humans' courage was matched only by their brilliance. Lieutenant Mara Chen led a small squad through a narrow alley to flank the enemy. Using explosives and electronic devices, they disabled enemy vehicles and created barriers that trapped enemy soldiers in confined spaces. When the trapped forces tried to escape, the humans were ready. Each move was precise, each action calculated. The enemy commander's plan fell apart under the humans' relentless strategy. Sarathia felt her respect for these humans deepen. They were not just strong, they were intelligent, adaptable, and fearless. She realized that her previous understanding of strength had been incomplete. True strength was a combination of courage, strategy, unity, and the willingness to protect others, even when facing impossible odds. The battle reached a critical point when the enemy commander personally arrived on the field, piloting a massive armored walker. It crushed debris and fired energy cannons intending to break the humans' defensive line. Ward immediately assessed the situation, giving rapid orders. Chen, take the left flank. Vega, support the civilians on the right. I'll handle the walker's weak points. The humans moved as one. Ward and a strike team advanced directly toward the walker, dodging blasts and using the environment to their advantage. One of the human exosuits extended a grappling hook, latching onto the walker's leg. Ward fired a precise energy charge at its control panel. Sparks flew and the massive walker faltered, wobbling as the humans disabled its systems. Sarathia, standing nearby, could barely believe her eyes. She had faced mighty enemies, witnessed fleets destroyed, and commanded armies of her own. But she had never seen bravery, intelligence, and courage combined like this. These humans had saved her city, her people, and her life. The enemy commander, now on foot, attempted to rally his remaining troops. But morale had shattered. Seeing their armored walker destroyed and their plans foiled, the enemy soldiers fled. Ward's team pursued only to ensure that no civilians were endangered, demonstrating not only strength but restraint and discipline. At last, the streets were quiet. The enemy had been defeated completely. Civilians cheered, hugging each other, and Kareth soldiers lowered their weapons, exhausted but alive. Sarathia descended from the tower, walking toward Ward and his team. "You have done the impossible," she said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "You have saved GalacticPrime. You have saved my people. You have saved me." Ward shook his head. "We didn't do it alone. You fought, your soldiers fought, and together we made it happen. Humans only do what is right." Sarathia studied him, her eyes reflecting both respect and admiration. "I called across the galaxy in desperation," she said softly. "I never imagined that help would come. And yet you answered. Humans are extraordinary." Ward smiled faintly. "Courage isn't about being invincible. It's about standing up when others might give up. That is what makes humans humans." Sarathia nodded, feeling the weight of those words. She realized that her understanding of strength had changed forever. Humans, small and unassuming compared to the enemies they faced, had achieved the impossible because of heart, intelligence, and courage. In the following days, humans worked tirelessly to stabilize GalacticPrime. They organized relief efforts, trained Kareth soldiers in advanced defensive tactics, and helped rebuild critical infrastructure. Every action was precise, every decision aimed at protecting life. Sarathia watched closely, learning from them. Her people had survived because these humans had risked everything, not for reward, not for glory, but because it was the right thing to do. The queen called a council in the remains of her palace. Careth leaders, humans, and survivors gathered to discuss the next steps. Sarathia spoke with confidence she had not felt in months. Today, she began, we survived because we were not alone. Humans came across the stars when all hope seemed lost. They have shown us what courage and intelligence truly mean. From this day forward, GalacticPrime will honor them and we will stand together in alliance. Ward stood beside her, quiet but proud. We do not seek honor or reward, he said. We only do what is right. But I'm glad to see your people safe and your city secure. The council members nodded in agreement. A new era was beginning. The alliance between humans and the Careth Dominion would be built on trust, courage, and mutual respect. Together they would rebuild the city, strengthen defenses, and ensure that no enemy could ever threaten GalacticPrime again. That night, Sarathia walked through the streets with Ward at her side. Civilians cheered as they passed. Children waved excitedly, unaware of the danger they had just survived. The queen felt a sense of peace she had not known for years. You have changed my world, she said softly, not just with your weapons or strategy, but with your courage and heart. I will never forget this, Captain Ward. Ward shook his head. You don't have to. Just remember the lessons. Courage, unity, and protecting others, these are the true strengths of humanity. Sarathia smiled. She understood now that strength was not only about power, it was about courage, heart, and selflessness. Humans had reminded her of that truth. In the following weeks, GalacticPrime slowly returned to life. Buildings were rebuilt, civilians returned to their homes, and the city began to thrive once more. The humans stayed long enough to ensure stability, training Careth soldiers, advising leaders, and sharing knowledge that would protect the planet for generations. Before they left, Sarathia called Ward to the palace balcony. The city stretched out below, alive with light and activity. You have my eternal gratitude, she said. I swore to protect my people and you helped me do it. GalacticPrime owes you a debt that cannot be repaid. Ward looked out at the city, then back at her. No debt, he said simply. We only do what is right. That is enough. Sarathia extended her hand in a gesture of respect. Ward shook it firmly, and in that moment a bond was formed. Not just between two individuals, but between two species. As the humans departed, their ships disappearing into the stars, Sarathia felt hope blossoming in her heart. GalacticPrime had survived. Her people had survived, and she knew that the galaxy was full of courage and heart, waiting to rise when the time came. From that day forward, the humans were no longer distant legends or myths. They were heroes, allies, and friends. Queen Sarathia vowed that the Careth people would honor them, remember their courage, and carry their lessons into the future. Your species is extraordinary, she whispered to herself, gazing at the stars. You are a reminder of what courage, unity, and hope can achieve. I will never forget you.